nobody really gets fired for buying Microsoft, right? I think so long as they make capable models, they don't need to be number one. They just need to be good.
I do think that you might be underestimating Mustafa Suleiman somewhat. And I do think that he wants to be at the frontier.
Welcome to the AI argument.
Hello, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and welcome to the AI argument with myself, Justin Collery, hoping that things go faster and faster. Joined as ever by Frank Prendergast, who's had a great week because it looks like sometimes some people want things to slow down. Late breaking news, Frank. Anthropic have said that they want to stop the development of AI, or at least
Great.
pause.
Brilliant.
Yeah, not going to happen. Not going to
Fantastic
happen.
news.
So let me bring you up to speed. So Anthropic released, they periodically publish these posts, blog posts, whatever. And in this one, they said that, look, we are entering a period now where we are reinforcing where the models improve themselves, right? They're self-improvement models. And that this is going to greatly speed the development of new models, and that it'll be much, much harder to control. And therefore, they recommend that if everybody else stops developing the models, they will also stop. And what they've said is that even if the development of AI models stopped for the next 6 or 12 months, there's such a huge capability overhang that the world would still change beyond all recognition. And therefore, it doesn't
Brilliant.
in any way impinge on the vision of changing the world and making it a better place for everybody, but just continuing at the breakneck speed we're going at is dangerous, and they're prepared to stop, as long as everybody else is prepared to stop too. What do you think of that?
I think that it is a very good idea. I
Mm-hmm.
think that it would be wonderful if it happened. I think
Mm-hmm.
that it's good that Anthropic are saying it and putting it out into the ether, and that it's not just I've forgotten the guy's name, the guy from the Social Dilemma and the AI Dilemma. It's not just kind of like people who might be seen as like on the fringe saying, what, we should slow down here. It's not just Bernie Sanders saying we should slow down. This is a very, very direct communication from one of the AI labs at the frontier saying we should slow down. But we've been
Smells of
here
virtue
before.
signaling. Smells of virtue signaling to me.
I
Totally
don't know
smells of
about
virtue.
virtue signaling. I think their heart is in the right place. I think they
I,
probably know it's not going to happen. I mean, we've had Dario Amodei. We've talked before about Dario Amodei being on stage with Demis Hassabis, and the two of them saying, "Yeah, we'd love to stop. We'd love to slow down. It's not going to happen." So
let me tell you exactly why I think it's virtue signaling and why it's not going to happen. Also, this week, we got word through Axios, and I think there was also an article in the Financial Times where the NSA and the Pentagon were now using the Mythos model. That's the one that Anthropic use, remember, and they're using that to try and hack computers in other nation states, read China. Right. So the same company that are saying that, yeah, this is really dangerous, their technology is being used by governments to attack other governments already, according to the Financial Times and Axios. And so even if we stop developing these technologies in America, the Chinese aren't going to stop because they're already getting hacked by these models from the US.
yeah, I mean, look, I get it. I understand. I naively want us to do the right thing. The cynic in me accepts that you're probably right. It's not going to happen, but at least this is putting it out there. I do think international cooperation is needed. I don't think everyone's just going to stop on the kind of, hey, we read Anthropic's blog post, let's all just stop now. I think it will take, huge international um, agreements and collaboration and cooperation, and we're a ways off having that. We're a long ways off having that. But fingers
Frank,
crossed.
Frank, they dropped two nuclear bombs and kept on developing those things for 20 years afterwards. It'll take a big, big event for people to decide that this is dangerous and they want to stop developing it further.
Yeah, yeah, and this is it. This is it. Well, what is that big event going to be, or will there be one? Who knows? We'll
Probably
find
not. It'll be
out.
fine. Be fine.
It'll
Tell
be
you somebody else who
fine.
isn't good. Tell you
Yeah,
somebody else who's not going to stop is
yeah.
Mustafa Suleyman. He's had a pretty interesting week.
He's back with a bang, huh? I mean,
No, he's not.
is it? He's not.
No, he's not.
Well, folks, this is why we call it the AI argument. Well, look, I'm delighted to see him back. I'm really interested in what's happening. So, Microsoft had their Build developer. Everyone's having a developer conference lately.
Yep.
They had their Build developer conference, and it seems like Microsoft are, I would say, back in the AI game. Um, certainly communicating that they want to be back in the AI game. Their collaboration with OpenAI would have prevented them from doing this up until, I think, was it last year? Because they're now building their own models, and they were not meant to chase AGI on their own while they were in that deal with OpenAI, which they renegotiated last year. So now that they can do it, Mustafa Suleiman, who, he when he joined Microsoft first, I think his main job was like, how do we make Microsoft Copilot not suck? Um, and I believe he's done a reasonably good job. I've actually been hearing better things about Copilot more recently. But
That's because they're
now,
using Anthropic and Cowork in the back end. They haven't actually
is
built
it?
anything.
Is
When was yeah. So when was the last time that Microsoft released a product that made you go, "Wow, that's pretty cool"?
Oh, I can't remember. Was it maybe never? I don't know.
For me, DOS 6.22, which I've talked to you about before, just 1994, I think it was, when I hopped on the bus to go in and buy that. So look at just
But
they call this MAI, Microsoft AI, I presume is what
yeah,
the M stands for. What have they released, and what is impressive about it?
so yeah, they released like 7 models. They've got a new reasoning model, which is meant to be pretty good. Apparently, now interestingly, right, the benchmark that they used was that it's about as good as, or maybe, yeah, it's about as good as Opus 4.6 on the coding benchmark SWE Bench Pro. Now that is pretty impressive, but like Opus is up to what, 4.8 now? So
Yep.
it's interesting that, it is not like at the frontier. Um, and then they've got a lighter coding version, which is going to be cheaper and more efficient, etc. They've got an image model, which apparently is now number 2 on the image model leaderboards, and it's even better than Nano Banana 2 for image editing. So
Wow.
that's pretty impressive. Then they've got a smaller version of the image model. They've got a transcription models, so speech to text, and that
Yep.
is apparently beating Gemini and OpenAI's models, and apparently it's 5 times faster than any rival model. Again, very impressive. They've got a speech generation model, and yeah, and a lower cost, efficient version of that as well. And then they've got what they're calling frontier tuning. So for the MAI thinking one, which is their reasoning model, you can basically fine tune that using reinforcement learning on your organization's workflows and business logic and all the rest of it.
Yep.
That's
Sounds
pretty
very
cool.
impressive. Sounds
And
very impressive, Frank.
and they've
I'm
gone
yeah,
all
go
in
on.
on agents like everyone else.
Oh,
So
yep.
now they've got like native support for OpenClaw. They've also
That one is
got
interesting.
It is. And also they've got their own model. What was it called? Scout. So that is
Yes.
built on OpenClaw and their work IQ, which allows you to train on your business, etc. So they've basically got like support for OpenClaw for the people who are willing to take risks out there. And then they've got the Scout, which is like the enterprise version, which is a little bit safer. They do have extra safety built into OpenClaw, etc. I think you'll be interested in this as well. They've got local models. So they've got something called Ion 1 Instruct and Ion 1 Plan. So the Instruct one is for like the everyday uses, very, small things like summarization, rewriting,
Yep.
stuff like that. And then they've got Plan, which can reason, it can invoke tools and manage files, and they can be run locally. They've also got a thing called Foundry Local, which is for more easily running open source models locally. And they announced hardware such as the Surface RTX Spark Dev Box. And apparently that can run a 120 billion plus parameter model with a 1 million token context locally. So I think, but all of that together is pretty significant, I would think. What do you reckon?
Okay. So I agree. Okay, so a very impressive rundown, right, of all the different things that they've released. I think that they will not be the best models that you're ever going to use, and I'll explain why in a second. And I don't think it's going to matter. I still think they're going to do very well, unless they really screw up the rollout, kind of like they did with Copilot and stuff like that, which they could,
Mm.
right? They're Microsoft at the end of the day. So why why do I think that they won't be the best models in the world, right? Mustafa Sullivan comes out, he says that he wants to be number one because he has to say it. Who wants to be number two, for God's sake, right? I think the only company I've ever heard of, in fact, that ever advertised that they weren't number one was a hire car company. I can't remember which one. It was in
Oh yeah,
America.
that's yeah,
We try harder because we're number two or whatever, right? Which is that
yeah.
was sort of making a virtue out of the fact that they weren't number one. But this is different. He has to say that, right? Because I think that's marketing and the way it works. But this is just one product in a whole load of other products that they have. And as they develop and they make these products, they have to kind of figure out how they fit it into their overall ecosystem. And so there ends up being trade-offs. Whereas OpenAI and Anthropic, and in particular
Mm,
Anthropic, have zero trade-offs to make. They just go, we want to make the best model. And in fact, for Anthropic, we're going to develop to make coding really, really good. And they focus on one thing. And therefore, that model tends to be better. So that's why I think their models will
mm,
never be the best. That's not going to matter though, because if I am just O Corp and I'm a big company, I probably use loads of Microsoft tooling already.
yeah.
And I want to have, I want a very simple billing situation. I want just nobody. It's like they're Microsoft are the new IBM. Nobody really gets fired for buying Microsoft, right? It's a known quantity. We deal with them already. The security and compliance people will be much more, happy to deal
Mm,
with a known quantity, all that sort of stuff. So I think so long as they make capable models, they don't need to be number one. They just need to be good. They need to do what it says on the tin, and then I think they'll do. I think they'll do okay. I think the other thing, right, that's interesting, I know you pointed out the smaller models you say run locally. What I'm seeing is in large corporations, as the models become more capable, I talked about this before, right? There's kind of like a curve of capability, right? And 2 years ago we were down here, so we were really, really, really waiting to get a better model so that we could do some more cool stuff. But now the curve has gone to the point where I think even as I think we're going to get into the point where as new models come along, they're so smart, it's really hard for the average person to notice the difference between I don't. Does the average person know the difference between a model that can act autonomously for 20 hours or 40 hours? No, their tasks don't extend to those time periods. Companies are kind of the same. They're bounded by cost then at that point, right? So you have a whole load of models that can do the job at hand, and now cost becomes an issue. And if you're renting a model, so you're paying per token, what we've discovered is that's very, very expensive. And companies there's been loads of examples. Who was it? There was one, was it Airbnb? I think it was, blew through their token budget in 4 months. Everybody
mm,
was just lashing out the tokens and whatever. So, whereas if you can host a model, let's say in an Azure instance, hey, Microsoft own that too, and then you can just run that instance and you can burn as many tokens as you want, that becomes a very attractive proposition. Second thing is big companies often have concerns around data residency and even just they don't like data leaving their ecosystems. If at all, they can avoid it. So if you can just spool up a machine and run a model that's good enough in your environment, well, that's again, the security people will be delighted with that, and the accountants will too, because you're not burning tokens. So it doesn't matter if their model isn't the shiniest, best model in the world. It just has to be good enough. And I think they will be good enough. So Mustafa Sullivan may actually, I mean, we have a number of, I know you're big in the financial world, we have a number
mm.
of big IPOs coming up. And Anthropic put in their papers for an IPO for how many? About $1 trillion. And what's it, X? Elon Musk's company has done the same. He's hoping to go public, and OpenAI, we know, are hoping to go public before the end of the year as well. How does this play, I wonder, against that? If Microsoft, by the way, another interesting, because again, I know you love the money stories, right? An interesting thing happened this week as well, which was Google. How much money do Google have, do you think?
Oh, I have no idea. Not a
More than
clue.
you and me. More than you and me,
Yes,
all right?
definitely.
They've
Yeah,
got
a little
they've
bit.
got they've got a lot of money, right? And they make, I think, 30 or 40 billion every quarter, right? So they're not stuck for cash. But
Mm,
they call it writing paper. They basically created debt for $80 billion this week. And part of me is going, is all of this, the $80 billion there, and these guys publishing the models, which are just good enough, is this all this big money stuff? And it's to take some of the air out of the IPOs of Anthropic and OpenAI and X. And it also plays back to, because I mean, I would share this. sort of concern, right? You have these companies that are built on projecting revenues which are based on bigger and bigger income from tokens as time goes forward. And for the reasons I've just outlined, right, companies are going, hey, hold on a second, we're burning through these things really quick. We need to run these local models, which hurts OpenAI and Anthropic and X. And then also you have these Chinese models, which you can also bring in, and you can run them for about a tenth of the cost. And so it does put, I think, a question in people's minds, is this incredible revenue growth that you've seen from Anthropic, is that really going to continue on that hockey stick? Or is it going to start to do that top of the S curve is going to appear much more quickly? So I don't know. You're a big Microsoft fan. Are you going to use the Microsoft models?
I'm not. I mean, I'm on an Apple Mac, so I am not going to go anywhere near the Microsoft models, I would imagine. I do think I agree with a lot of what you said, and I think it's very similar to what we talked about on the show quite recently in terms of Google, and whether it was the same for Google, that they don't necessarily need to be at the absolute cutting edge. They just need to be good enough because they have the audience, they have the customers already.
Yeah.
But I do think that you might be underestimating Mustafa Suleiman somewhat. And I do think that he wants to be at the frontier. And I mean, I've been really surprised at how quiet he has been in Microsoft since he joined there. I know it's not like he disappeared off the face of the earth or anything like that, but at the same time, he was a very prominent figure in AI. He was, like, it was very much kind of like you would talk about Sam Altman, you talk about Dario Amoda, you would talk about Demis Hassabis, and you would talk about Mustafa Suleiman. And then, he kind of disappeared from the public imagination somewhat. And I think this might be him coming back. And I think this might be him kind of freed from the shackles of OpenAI and going, right, come on, lads, we've got work to do. We can do this.
Maybe I don't know. We'll see. It's the other side of what I'm saying is that mind share is important too. So it's tough. So I mean, I know I was talking to a friend of mine, and they were at some sort of a conference over in the UK during the week, and everybody uses Claude Code. It was a developer conference, just everybody uses Claude Code. So yeah, and it's Claude Code or OpenAI, and it's very hard, I think, for anybody else to come into a professional organization and sort of chip away at that. Cost is the only big one I can see, but it will be difficult for Microsoft to get mind share in order to steal some of that away. It could be echoes of the Windows Phone about it. Does anybody remember the Windows Phone? Do you remember the Windows Phone?
I remember the name. I couldn't even tell you what the Windows Phone looked like.
Actually, you know what it is? Just for the whatever, right? It's just another example of a terrible product. So the iPhone came out.
I thought you were going to
iPhone
take one out of a drawer there for a second.
I had one. I did have one. The Windows Phone was basically a phone that was supposed to compete with the iPhone. It was horrible. It was just horrible. And it had a big touch screen on it. It was really slow and had these tiles on it that you had to, and it was another example of Microsoft just, they're just, they make an operating system and it's whatever, it's good. They do a good job with the operating system, but all the rest of it. Anyway, OpenAI had a good week this week.
Why do you say that?
They released a thing called Sites, which I think is great.
Why? Well, first of all, tell us what Sites is.
Let me tell you the dream, right? And then you can tell me, because this is actually more in your ballpark than mine.
Yeah.
But okay, so Sites is this new product which has been released by OpenAI. And what Sites allows you to do is to build a full stack website and then host it with OpenAI. So you can go into your OpenAI, I presume it's in your developer console. You can say, hey, I need to do a website for the AI argument, and I'd like to sell some merch, please. And yeah, we're going to sell some cups and some t-shirts. And just, can you magic that up for me, please? And it will create the website, do the full stack thing, and then you just go publish, and your site is live, and it's hosted on OpenAI. What's not to like?
Yeah, I mean, it's cool, but like, I don't get it. First of all, right, here's my big question. Like, are we back on side quests now? So, it wasn't that long ago that OpenAI were like, oh my God, Code Red, Anthropic are getting ahead of us. And then, shortly after that, they were like, "Oh, we've got to stop doing side quests. Google are getting ahead of us."
All right,
And they said, "Right, we're gonna focus. We're gonna focus on the core thing, the core products.
focus,
And
Frank,
now we have
focus.
and now we have sites." I mean, like, am I missing how this is part of the core product? Because personally, like, unfortunately, I wasn't able to test it because it's only on enterprise and business models, which I find really interesting because this strikes me as something that is aimed at the, hobbyist vibe coder like myself, not the enterprise. Because, I mean, you're a developer. Like, are you going to use this over the workflow that you've used for years, probably with GitHub and whatever hosting?
No,
I
no,
don't get it.
no, I'm not going to, right? But maybe other people will. But I think, in terms of the focus thing, right? I'm sure they have a Venn diagram somewhere in the office of things, and in one of the circles it's got code, and in the other one of the circles it's got money. And this does kind of sit inside that sort of Venn diagram of we need to do codey things and need to make money. Here's why I think it's smart, and maybe it's just a terrible implementation of what I think is smart, right? So one of the big issues that the people in the wider world see at the moment is that AI is going to eat Google's lunch. So, how is AI going to eat Google's lunch? Google makes loads of money from pay per click. So, you go onto Google, you type in what you want, the search results come up, and the top ones are paid for, but you only pay for them when you actually click on them. So, somebody finds the AI argument website, they're looking for AI argument merch, they click on the ads that we've put up there, and as soon as they click on it, they'll take a penny out of our account or a cent out of our account and they'll go to our website. And the problem is now you don't get the search results anymore. When you go into Google and you say, here, I'm looking for some AI merch, it just gives you an AI answer, right? And it doesn't have those paid for clicks. Except, right, what happens if instead you're now on ChatGPT and you're saying, hey, I really like that show, the AI argument. I'd like to buy some AI merch, please. And it goes, because it knows now it's hosted on their own infrastructure and it goes, oh, that's cool. Yes, you can buy it at this site here. And you click on the link. Now, that's not an ad, right? So they can claim that they haven't besmirched any of their morals by stuffing stuff into, right, your feed, right, because I paid for it. But as soon as you click on that link, they may well charge me a penny for serving the traffic of somebody visiting my website. And therefore, the economic outcome is the same. It's pay per click because they're the ones hosting the websites. And that's why I think it's smart. Now, I think that Google are in a better position to capitalize this than OpenAI, but I think it's a monetization play. It's a way to make money.
Wow, I don't know. I can't see it. I just can't see it. And you just by mentioning Google there as well, you just raised something else kind of interesting to me, which is, where are these actually hosted? So I did a little digging around, and it seems to me that Cloudflare is involved somehow. So I didn't really understand what D1 and R1 were, but these are like the basically how the databases for, if you're deploying something that has a database, or you need to upload images to or whatever, that's how these are handled. And apparently these are Cloudflare technologies. So where are these actually being hosted? Because that I couldn't figure that out. But the Cloudflare terminology made me wonder, are they partnering with Cloudflare for this? Which raises another can of worms for me, which is, earlier you mentioned about enterprises being nervous about where their data is sent, and that's
Yeah.
why they're interested in local models. Well, this is going out to the enterprise plans. So now, are you going to have a situation where somebody can hit deploy and company information is sent out to some hosting somewhere for some vibe coded tool that somebody in the office has decided to do? Like, this sounds like a big can of worms to me in terms of security
Yeah,
and data
yeah.
privacy. And
And you know my views on security and data privacy. But actually, in this instance, I totally agree with you. This doesn't look like an enterprise product at all. I think you're dead right. I don't know why it's on the enterprise platform.
it's
This is
weird.
way more like a mom and pop shop type thing where they just want to have a website to, gather some traffic and whatever. This is an easy way to set up a website.
Yeah. Internal
that.
tools I would get, like maybe, spin up a dashboard to do your presentation or whatever, and but only internally. That I would understand. For enterprise, no need to be, no need to go out to GitHub, no need to go out and host it somewhere. I can see there'd be use cases, but only if it was kind of in a walled garden.
Yeah, do you know what it is? Maybe it's another one of these things, right? I remember getting very concerned about OpenAI when remember they released that agents dashboard thing. It was maybe 6 or 8 months ago, right? It was a way to visually design agents and do stuff. And I remember playing with it and going, yeah, it's a bit meh. Like, there's work to be
Mm,
done here and it's very good. It's a bit
yeah.
meh. And then it came out that it was vibe coded in like 3 weeks before the presentation of it. And it's like, really? And maybe this is another one of those things where it's like somebody had a good idea and they just keep throwing stuff to see what sticks. And
Side quests. Side quests. They're getting distracted by side quests, I'm telling you.
focus, please. Okay, look at something that's close to your heart. Martin Scorsese is getting into a
Yes.
bit of hot water this week.
Yeah.
One of my favorite directors. I love Martin Scorsese and his movies. He's not the one that's not allowed to go to Switzerland or leave Switzerland, is he?
And not as far as I know. No, I don't
All
think
right, that
so.
must be a
I
different.
don't
That
think
must be a different one.
I don't think there's any Martin Scorsese controversy, thankfully.
Is it
Um,
Polanski I'm thinking of? Is it?
I would assume so. Yeah, I would
Yes. All
assume
right.
so.
Okay.
Different
Okay.
kettle of fish.
All right.
Scorsese, though,
Yeah.
Scorsese's a funny one. Just to get away from AI for a second,
Yeah.
uh, Taxi Driver is my favorite film probably of all time.
Yeah.
Scorsese, but bar Taxi Driver, I I always thought I loved Scorsese, and recently I sat down, I went through the films, and I was like, actually, I think Taxi Driver is the only one I actually
Really
like.
good. I only like the music in it. I really like that sort of the do music in it. It's fantastic. What other movies has he made? Actually, just try.
Well,
Let's.
Goodfellas would be a huge one, and
Oh, that's a good movie.
I always think I like it, but then when I watch it, I don't know that I actually enjoy it. I mean, I can appreciate it, but I don't enjoy it. Um,
That's not a true
it's
story as well.
is it based on true story? I can't remember. I actually can't
I
remember.
know. I say all
Um,
movies are based on a true story.
but anyway, so Martin Scorsese is now in some kind of partnership with Flux. The relationship is actually a little bit unclear. I don't know, are they paying him or what's going on? But he was in a promo for them, and he's exploring storyboarding primarily using
Mhm.
AI to storyboard quickly to get what's in his head out to his team quickly and efficiently and in a better way than he could draw, which I think is an interesting point because a lot of people are saying, oh, he's taking away storyboarders' jobs, etc., etc. Like I was reading on the just a minute ago that he storyboarded Taxi Driver himself. So
Wow.
so yeah, I mean, I think it's a perfectly valid use of AI. I think it's it opens a can of worms around jobs and around creativity. But I mean, if you've been doing your storyboards by hand and failing to communicate properly to your team or as best you possibly could, now using AI to be able to kind of go, look, this is what I'm talking about. This is how it would look photographically. I don't know. I think that's a brilliant use of AI.
And just explain to me, so how does it? So if I want to sit down, or you want to sit down and make a movie, right? You describe the scenes to a set of artists, and then they sort of draw them, and you sort of work with them to sort of say, yeah, it's a bit this or it's a bit that, until it gets to the point where you're happy with it. Is that how it works?
Yeah, I mean, some storyboards are almost like a frame by frame, shot by shot comic book of the entire film. I mean, it depends director to director, but some directors will literally have a kind of a visual, a drawn visual, almost like comic of the entire film before they start shooting.
And do you think that part of the concern then is that if we can do the storyboarding, it's pretty obvious that you could probably just create the movie as well? Like, I mean, if I can storyboard it, I mean, it doesn't seem like a big leap.
I mean, yeah, I think there are all manner of fears. I think the biggest fear right now in terms of the Martin Scorsese story is, well, storyboarders are looking at this going, hang on, this is my job. And I understand that. And, I feel for them, but I don't know what we do about that. I mean, unfortunately, this is the way technology and capitalism has always worked. And
Jesus Christ, what's your hang up with capitalism? It's just technology, Frank. It's qualitatively better than the previous way of doing it, right? If you're a director, you don't have to describe the thing. You can literally just go like this in your computer, and if you don't like it, you can go and change it again. It's nothing to do with capitalism. It's just progress,
no, but I mean,
technology.
in terms of somebody's job, it is very much to do with capitalism because
People,
nobody's going
pe-
to.
people in North Korea work too, Frank. That's not capitalism. They also have jobs. They just get told what their jobs are. I'm sure. Anyway, let's not go there now.
So I thought we'd do a quick check-in on the rest of Hollywood, right?
Oh, cool.
And so myself and ChatGPT did a little bit of work earlier, and
Okay.
we came up with this. So,
Look at that. Okay, I love it.
so this is the big Hollywood anti or OpenAI quiz, right?
Okay.
So Justine Bateman. Justine Bateman is in here because she has been very vocal about AI in Hollywood, and she has been working with SAG-AFTRA to really actually, what am I talking about? I'm going to give this away if I tell you any more.
You are, yeah. I mean, I was a big fan of Family Ties. Justine Bateman is one of my favorite actresses. I'd say she is on the open side of the argument.
Open. Oh, you are wrong. No, she wants absolutely no generative AI in the entertainment industry, period. She is probably one of the most anti-AI people that you
Is
could
she?
come across. Okay,
She's
who
in
have
for
we
a
got
bad
next?
time.
We've got Reese Witherspoon. What do you think?
Reese is great. Yeah, I'd say she's all up for the AI as well, is she?
Open to AI? Final
Yeah,
answer? Let's go for
yeah.
it. Yes, she's open
Woohoo!
to AI. So she says it's a tool that we layer our own creativity onto and our humanity and our ethics. She says, let's not be scared of it. Let's dive in. Let's lean in. Good on
Oh,
you, Reese Witherspoon. Yes, I agree.
very good. I like her.
All right, Demi Moore, what do you reckon?
Demi Moore now, she's getting on a bit. I'd say now she could be a bit of a Luddite now, the old Demi Moore. I'd say she's anti, is she?
Auntie, let's have a look. No, she is
No!
open
Wow.
to AI. She said it's here. There's no point in fighting it. Basically, we're going to lose that battle if we try and fight the technology, which is, again, yeah, I have to
She's
say I
smart.
agree. Yeah, so
Yeah,
we have
she's
to
a
find
smart
ways in
woman.
which we can work with it. That's a more valuable path to
We
take.
should we should
Great.
we should get her on the show to talk about
We
it. Yeah.
should. We should. Okay, Nicolas Cage. Nicolas Cage. I love Nicolas Cage. What do you reckon?
Nicolas Cage, he's one of the best and worst actors that have ever lived, right? And it was Nicolas Cage, he's been in some movies where you could do with some AI. I would say Nicolas Cage is pro AI.
Pro AI, let's have a look. No, he's
No.
anti AI. He says he does not want to let the robots dream for us because robots cannot reflect the human condition. Yeah, I mean, look, it's a fair comment, but like we said, I just don't think
But
there's any point in
not going
fighting
to
it.
age very well. Guillermo del Toro, interestingly, I mean, interested to know that, but is somebody that could do amazing things with AI. He has such weird and wonderful movies that are so, you
True.
know, right.
Mm.
I can imagine that if he embraced AI, he would do. I'm gonna hope that he's open, but I'm guessing that he's anti because he's. I'm gonna say
Which
anti
one?
then. I'd say he's anti.
Anti. That is
Yeah.
correct.
It's a
In
shame.
fact, he said the other day, somebody wrote me an email and said, what is your stance on AI? And my answer was very short. I said, I'd rather die.
He looks a lot like Philip Seymour Hoffman in that picture.
He does a little bit there. Yeah. Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's
he'd
very
rather
sad.
die. That's about as anti as you could get, really, isn't it?
It's a
Okay.
shame because he could do great stuff. James Cameron, I'm quite sure, is pro it, actually.
Correct.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah, yeah,
He said
yeah. I heard him talk about it.
the convergence of CGI and AI will unlock new ways for artists to tell stories in ways we could never have imagined, which again, yeah, I think that's just fair enough.
Yeah, very good. Seth
Seth
Rogen.
Rogen.
These are all very mainstream people, Frank. Do we have any more alternative type directors on the list? Anyway, that's not important.
I
No,
went, I went as recognizable as possible. I think Justine Bateman
yeah.
is probably the least known name on the list, but I included her because of her kind of importance in the argument.
Well, the reason I ask is, old internet technology developed because of porn. Everything, like the reason that you can stream TV is because of porn.
I
Porn was at the
have heard
forefront.
that.
Porn was at the forefront of every technological advance that we've had up until this point. And so, in fact, AI might be the first Anyway, that's not important now. Seth Rogen,
There's-
I'd say.
Let's not open that can of worms right now. There's probably
Seth,
a whole episode on that at some point.
yeah, I'm up for that one. Seth Rogen, I would say I'd say he's anti it actually. I'd say Seth
Anti,
Rogen could be against it.
absolutely.
Yeah,
He is anti. He said, every time I see a video on Instagram that's like Hollywood is cooked, what follows is the most stupid dog beep I've ever seen in my life. And if your instinct is to use AI and not go through that process, you shouldn't be a writer because you're not writing.
yeah,
So
but
yeah,
that makes it the same as 80% of the other stuff that comes out of Hollywood. You know, some would argue.
yeah.
Maybe 95% of it. Ben Affleck, I would say that he's actually one of my favorite actors and directors. I'd say he's open to
Really
it. Yeah, I love Ben Affleck. I think he's great.
open to it. Yes, correct.
Yeah.
In fact, he has his own AI filmmaking company called Interpositive,
Wow.
which was acquired by Netflix.
Who's the guy?
And yeah,
Sorry,
no,
who's
go
the
ahead.
guy that he? Who's the guy that he does the movies with? What's the other guy? Ben
Matt
Affleck
Damon.
and Matt Damon. There was a very interesting interview with Matt Damon. I don't know if you saw it. He was explaining the money situation behind why don't they make big, brilliant movies anymore. And he
Oh
just
yeah.
breaks down the fact that people don't go to cinemas anymore. The cinema run is
Mm.
really short, and therefore the budget to actually make the movies is really small, and therefore you just end up with fairly bland,
Sure.
nondescript movies and whatever. So that's why I'm thinking they're kind of business focused, the two of them.
I must look that up. Okay, Emily Blunt, second last person.
Emily Blunt, she's got to. I mean, basically, even has a strong opinion on it. I'm hoping that it's open.
No, she's
Oh,
anti
oh.
it. Do you remember we talked about Tilly Norwood, that AI,
Yeah.
one of the first kind of AI actors? Well, when that came out, she said, "Good Lord, we're screwed. That is really, really scary. Come on, agencies, don't do that. Please stop. Please stop taking away our human connection." And I think it was Emily Blunt. Now, I could be wrong, but I think it was Emily Blunt that I read just the other day. She's got some kind of sci-fi movie, and she had to speak an alien language. And she said that she was so terrified that AI would be used that she made all the noises vocally, and they just manipulated them in traditional audio equipment rather than using AI to make the alien noises. Okay,
Lord.
last one. Natasha Lyonne.
Oh yeah, she's great actually.
She is, yeah.
She's
yeah.
great. Russian Doll was brilliant. I really liked
First
Russian
season
Doll.
of Poker Face as well. Really liked the first season.
Yeah. Okay. I'm guessing she strikes me as somebody who's quite traditional. I'm going to say she's anti it.
Anti it? No, she
No.
also has an AI film studio.
No.
And she said, yeah, we should use AI. And she basically said there's no avoiding it, really. And so we should use it. So let's see. You scored 5 out of 10. So,
Woohoo! It's almost like it was a random chance each time, eh?
so there you
brilliant,
go.
Frank.
Yeah, Hollywood, pretty mixed views on AI. Some big names getting involved in the conversation, and I think the ones who are just saying, "Look, there's no fighting it," are probably correct. I did see Kate Blanchett has created a new company seeking to protect people's likenesses, etc., from AI, which I thought was interesting. So she has huge reservations about AI, and she's doing something about it. And I think she recognizes it as a tool, but also sees places that need to be safeguarded and is taking action on that. So I thought that was interesting.
It is interesting. Somebody needs to do the other way around as well, though. I mean, somebody who wants to promote their likeness in an AI. I would like. Do you know what? Did you ever watch the TV programs? He was doing this. What was it? The one where Rimmer was in it. He was a hologram. They were in a
Oh
spaceship.
yeah, Red
Red
Dwarf.
Dwarf.
Yeah.
Red Dwarf. I want to be the guy on the TV. That's it.
Who's
I want to be.
who was the guy on the TV?
You had
What?
Rimmer, you had and then they had there was a guy on the TV who would just pop up every now and then. He was like their AI in the spaceship
Oh yeah.
back from
Yeah.
the 80s. So that's it. So when they create a face, I mean, I'd like your face to be on it. If I got a sort of face in the kitchen that's going to tell me how to cook, mushrooms or something like that, I think it should be your face. So there should be a way to promote your face.
Well, Justin, if my face ends up on your fridge, I will be getting Kate Blanchett to go after you. So
Very good. All right, Frank. Have a great week.
chat to you
Pleasure as
next week,
always.
Justin. Absolutely.
Talk to you.